Hello friends, and welcome to the Hanged Man in the Moon. If this is your first time here, welcome. Thank you for coming. I'm pleased to meet you. If you've been here before, thank you for returning. I'm truly honored. Friends, if you are a returning visitor, you know that this is my series in which I use tarot and oracle cards to explore topics related to living the intentional life. And this week we have a wonderful spread laid out, but first let me ask you a question. How important do you think forgiveness is in living an intentional life? On a scale from 1 to 10, where would you place it? Would you place it down in the lower range around 1, 2, or 3? Up in the range of 7, 8, or 9, perhaps 10, or somewhere in the middle? I think this week's tarot and oracle spread is here to tell us that actually forgiveness might be off the chart. Forgiveness is a very important step, aspect, key points to living the intentional life. Forgiveness. You hear a lot of people talking about forgiveness, and we'll be talking a lot about forgiveness today. But not everybody's definition or reasons for forgiveness are going to be the same. Some people think of forgiveness as something we do because we are of a certain religion, something that we do to make someone else happy. But that's not what we're talking about today. Today, our understanding of forgiveness needs to shift to another side of the spectrum, a different spectrum. And we'll be talking about that in just a moment. So, friends, like I said, there's a spread already laid out. Let's take a look at it. This is a gorgeous spread. I say that every week, and every week it is absolutely true. It is a gorgeous spread. And I'm sorry to say that this is the last week that we're going to see these cards in quite a while, because the new moon is coming soon, and my decks are going to switch out. So, let's appreciate what we have as we have it. This really is a gorgeous spread, and you notice that it's a Celtic themed spread, and I've been using this spread for the last few weeks now, for the last lunar cycle. And if this is your first time here, let me give you a brief overview. What do we see? We see 3 cards in the center, which are from an oracle deck, and they give us the overall ideas, the major theme, the thesis statement, if you will, for this spread. And launching off of the idea of a thesis statement, and if we think of the spread as an essay, now, the 4 groupings of cards around the 3, the central idea, are the body of the essay. Yeah, they are 4 different questions on inquiry cards, cards with questions, and each one of those questions is answered by 1 card from 2 different tarot decks. So we have the main thesis statement, and then 4 questions related to that thesis statement, and then 2 sets of answers for each question. So that's what we're doing. And if you're interested in these decks, there will be a short clip at the end of this video which gives you the names of the decks and the creators. And as usual, underneath the video in the description box, there will be links so that you can go to check out the decks and perhaps purchase one or all of them if you so desire. Remember, I get no financial remuneration if you use those links. They're just there for your convenience. Also, if you do purchase one or both of the tarot decks, be forewarned, the images you see in this video are from my trimmed decks. I have hacked the borders off. I took my machete to my decks, and figuratively my machete to my decks, and I lopped off everything, the borders, the titles. So if you do order these decks, they will come with borders and titles. And if you're interested in trimming your decks, I will also have a link to a wonderful YouTube channel called Boho Tarot, hosted by Dawn Michelle, and she gives a wonderful tutorial series on modifying decks. So that information is also in the description box below. So friends, we just saw the whole spread in one fell swoop. And let's take a look at the thesis statement, the 3 oracle cards in depth. These 3 oracle cards that make up the thesis statement for this spread are very, very intriguing, very thought-provoking. And we're going to read them from left to right. Now we'll start with partnership, and we'll move to forgiveness, and then the spider. Now, partnership provides a very important gateway into the spread, I believe. Partnership. Let me ask you this question first. Do you understand that everything from the universe to your body, my body, to the cells in our bodies, do you realize that all of this is a co-creative event? What about the experiences you have in your life, the things that you do? Do you understand that everything that you take credit for is actually a co-creative experience? There is no aloneness in this universe. Everything is done in partnership with spirit, with other people, with all of that, all together. And this partnership card is here to open the door into the spread by reminding us of that. That everything that we experience, everything that we do, everything that we feel, everything that we notice, everything that slips in and out of our perception and our consciousness, it is all co-creative. We're not doing any of this on our own. And that's wonderful. And sometimes we misunderstand things, and we'll get to that part in just a moment. But let's start with this co-creative experience, this co-creation, this partnership. Partnership. This partnership card is here to remind us to seek the connection in all things, because all things are connected. Yeah? Ideas. The connection between ideas, the connection between people, the connections between everything that we can think about. It's all connected. As it's all also co-created. And even what we consider the law of attraction is a partnership, right? It's a connection between us and the experiences we want to have. The life of intention, the power of intention, the powerful river of intention which we are following through in our intentional lives is also a partnership, and there's connection there. We place things on the river, the things we want to have, the things we want to do, to experience, the jobs, the relationships, the homes, the artistic creations, the experiences, the vacations, the physical stuff that we enjoy. All of it is on the river of our intention, and we are connected to it. The moment it comes into our minds, the moment we form it vibrationally, it begins a co-creative manifestation, and we're already connected to it. So there's a partnership in all things. And this card is here to remind us to seek that connection, follow the connection. And our river of intention does that for us most of the time, but sometimes we try to turn upstream and go the other way because we think, working hard and suffering and struggling, which is in the opposite direction, is what's going to give us the awards, the accolades, the pats on the back, and the recognition for having done a good job. Whereas if we were to seek the connection that is already there and follow that connection, things would be so much easier. And probably things would be accomplished much more smoothly and much more quickly. So this is all a partnership, and there is connection in all things. Because disconnection is an impossibility. Now, disconnection from God is an impossibility. Disconnection from Allah, disconnection from Brahman, disconnection from the Great Mother, the Mother Goddess, the Gaia, whatever you want to call spirit, whatever aspect of spirit you are focusing on. It is impossible to disconnect from that. We can ignore it. We can feel cut off, but that's our perception. It's not the reality. Disconnection is impossible. And this card, again, is here to remind us that we are connected. And we can follow that if we choose it. This card is also here to remind us that opportunities abound. Because of this connection, opportunities abound. Opportunities for more partnership. Yeah? Just because we are connected to all things doesn't mean we can't increase the partnership that we experience. That's always possible. The universe is constantly evolving. We are constantly evolving. Creation is constantly expanding, so our partnership can also expand. And once a partnership is formed, no matter how much we resist it, it's going to be there throughout time. Beyond time, because it's a non-physical connection. Now, these partnerships are non-physical, right? It's not like there's some kind of a real live thread or string that we've lassoed something with and that we're holding in our hands, yeah? These connections, this partnership is something that goes beyond the physical into the non-physical, into the spiritual, into the energetic, the meta-energetic. Also, it's here to this card, back to the card. This card is also here to remind us that partnership exceeds the potential of the sum of its parts. What does that mean? Now, the potential of this connection that exists exceeds the sum of each of its parts. So we think of my connection to you, your connection to that person. And we can add them up, those connections up, those individual potentials up, and arrive at a sum. Like 1 + 1 = 2. However, in truth, it's an exponential growth. 1 + 1 = 1,000,000. Because your one is connected to so many others. It's not just you and me, it's you and everybody else, and me and everybody else. And then all those everybody else's with all those other everybody else's, and it's this unimaginable web and expansive net of interconnectedness. So every time we expand our network, our interactions, our partnerships, we're not expanding one by one, we're expanding exponentially. My network plus your network plus their network, it's unimaginable. And that's why this potential for creation is also unimaginably huge, immense. Because of this partnership, because it is co-creative. And this card is here to remind us that we are never alone. Do you know that you're never alone? Do you always know that? If you say yes, I'm not sure I believe you. I know I felt alone. I feel alone. I won't say often, but I feel alone frequently, sometimes at least. I feel alone. But I know that feeling of loneliness is my creation. It's not a fact. It's not the truth. It's my perception of reality, and sometimes my perception of reality is skewed. I misunderstand. I have expectations that are unmatchable because my expectations are somehow off or askew. Because we are unable to disconnect. We are unable to isolate, truly. And we talked about quarantine, especially during these last 2 years, and probably a little bit longer, maybe a lot longer. We quarantine ourselves, social distancing, right? Which is putting physical space between us and other people for our safety and the safety of others. That's not what we're talking about here. Because the physical experience is just the tip of the existential iceberg. Our connection is so much more than just how close our faces are, with or without masks. Our connection is so much more than which house we are in, or which country we are in, or which galaxy we are in. If you want to go that far, I mean, it's true. We are connected to life outside of our galaxy that we have no idea about. Now, that's because I know for my fact that there is life outside of this, beyond this planet Earth, and I just can't imagine what it really is. But I'm connected to it. I'm connected to it on that very deep, non-physical level, on a more physical, energetic level as well. It's impossible to completely isolate in these physical bodies. And then when we go beyond the physical into the spiritual, game over. There is no separation at all. We cannot even perceive separation. We can perceive separation in these bodies, but when we get out of them, there is absolutely no separation to be perceived. Because we see it all. We perceive it all. We're aware of it all. And we are never alone. Even in these flesh and bone and water bodies, we are never alone. We're connected to the divine, certainly. We're connected to spirit, certainly. But we're also connected to each other. Even if we've barricaded ourselves in the deepest cave and the deepest mountain, we are still connected to all people on a physical level, as well as spiritual. We're always in partnership. And again, we're in partnership with the divine, which is not a small thing, which is not something to poo-poo or to ignore or to think, well, yeah, of course I'm connected to the divine, but what I really want is, that connection to the divine is everything that there is. Because again, divine is connected to everything else, because you know what? The divine is everything else. The divine is everything else. Now, I'm not an animist. I am not an animist. I do not believe that, for example, my shirt has a thought process of its own, or is inhabited by an independently thinking, feeling, emoting spirit. However, I do believe and know that this shirt is God, is the divine, is Allah, is Brahman, is the Gaia, is the Great Mother, is the Eternal Father, is universal consciousness. Now, does it have its own individual free will? Does it have its own consciousness, the way that we think of you have consciousness and I have consciousness, or another animal has consciousness? I don't think so. Personally, I don't think so. However, it is spirit, because all matter is spirit. And some matter is imbued with more consciousness, more self-determination than other matter. Does that make sense? But because this is all, in my language, all God, there is no separation. I mean, that's the fundamental reason that there is no separation, and that this partnership card is so crucial. Our understanding of partnership is so important in living an intentional life. And then we move into the next card, forgiveness. Perhaps equally important in living life intentionally is forgiveness. Why is it so important? Well, it's important because of a couple of things. One, because all of this is co-creative and there is nothing like separation that exists. And a lot of these entities that we interact with have free will. There are a lot of times when these entities with free will are going to do things that we don't particularly appreciate or like. And sometimes they get us kind of angry. And sometimes, well, they don't get us angry. They do things that we create anger about. We use the things that some people do as our reason for expressing or for creating the experience of anger. I think we need to disassociate actions of other people and our emotional reaction to it. They don't make us angry. They don't make us angry like you make an apple pie or a work of art. Yeah? They didn't come up to us and say, okay, now you are angry. They didn't make us angry. We react with anger. And we are not angry. We are having the experience of anger. We have chosen anger as our response to what we've experienced. They didn't do it to us. We observed what they did and we created a response. So if we can understand that, it will be helpful. And it's not only anger, of course, love, joy, interest, excitement, frustration, boredom. Every point on the emotional scale is all a reaction that we have created for ourselves. They're all experiences that we create for ourselves, and they're also indications of how open we are to the powerful flow of intention. So we create these responses to things that other people do, to the way certain things are, or the way that we perceive certain things as being in the world. Now, it's not only people. Some of us, myself included, get angry at the weather. Who's responsible for that? Yeah? I go out on a sunny day on my bicycle and suddenly it turns into a downpour and maybe I get frustrated or angry, and who am I going to forgive for that? Whose fault is the weather? Now, so it's not only other people, conditions. We can get angry at conditions. We can get angry, frustrated, hurt by ourselves as well. Have you ever experienced that? Have you ever found that you were so angry or so disappointed with yourself that you felt an emotional wound from what you have done, or what you have thought, or what you have experienced, or something about yourself, or what you haven't done. Have you ever experienced that? Have you ever experienced anger, depression, frustration, and some of the good stuff? But here we're looking at the things we want to forgive, right? Forgiveness is important. Because, for one, if we don't forgive, what happens? If we don't forgive, we close down. We close up. We drastically reduce our potential of moving with the powerful current of intention. Yeah? We have taken our open boat that is just riding the waves, riding the stream of intention, and we started shutting it down and making ourselves heavy, and we start to sink into the water, and our ability to move forward reduces. And our ability to receive also reduces because we've closed ourselves off. Because we haven't allowed ourselves to forgive. There's also a toxicity that builds up within us. Yeah? There are physical ramifications to not forgiving others or ourselves. Yeah? Hormones. We have hormonal reactions to anger and stress and depression that do damage to our bodies. In a way, it's like drinking poison. And we have this anger or this frustration or this sadness about other people, and we somehow strangely think that our negative emotions are going to affect that other person or condition. So I've heard some teachers say, and I think very truly, it's like we're drinking poison, expecting it to hurt somebody else. And I've experienced that recently, frankly, today even. Momentarily. It was more than one moment, maybe 2 or 3 moments, but I experienced it recently today. I'm talking it through right now is helping me. Now, talking myself through my lack of forgiveness is helping me right now at this moment. So forgiveness, not forgiving, toxifies our own bodies and prevents our access. Doesn't completely cut us off because there's no cutting off. There's only partnership, but it does restrict our access to the power of intention and our ability to receive. Forgiveness, on the other hand, opens us. It opens us up again to be able to move with intention, to be able to receive all the things that we've placed on our current of intention. The things that we're attracting, we can receive if we're open, and we're open because we have forgiven. So forgiveness is what helps us move with intention and helps us to receive what we have created for ourselves energetically. Forgiveness is life-giving. So we're not doing it for other people. We don't forgive other people to make them feel better. We don't forgive other people to fix other people. We don't forgive for anybody else. We only forgive for ourselves. It's a selfish thing, believe it or not. Forgiveness is an entirely selfish act. It's an act of restoring the well-being of ourselves. Because the opposite is also true. Not forgiving is damaging our own well-being. We forgive for our own state of health, for our own mental health, emotional health, and physical health. We do it for ourselves. So this forgiveness card is here to remind us to search our hearts. That inventory that some people talk about. Search our hearts for what still remains. There are things from our childhoods, there are things from yesterday, there are things from 10 seconds ago that we might have noticed and ignored because we needed to keep going somewhere else, but those things are still there in our psychic space. And we want to search them out and allow ourselves to forgive, to open. And it could be anything from someone who broke your pencil to someone who took the life of someone you loved. Because of course, no life is actually taken. No one can actually take life because there is no death. However, they could cause somebody to leave their physical bodies, and that can cause pain, a lot of pain. I know I've lost people. I have not lost people. We don't lose people. I know that while I'm connected to people who have left their physical bodies, I miss that physical interaction. I miss the hugs. I miss the talking with mouths and the hearing with ears. I miss the physical contact. I miss the visual, everything. And while I know that those loved people are still because they were never born and they will never die. And our connection, once we have partnered up, never dies, never separates. There is no disconnection. Just as there is no real death, there is no disconnection. Every partnership is eternal. However, we do miss the physical interactions because those things are wonderful. That's part of why we came here into these physical bodies in the first place. So, tangent, getting back on track. Yes, forgiveness. We search our hearts for those things, those traces that are still there. And we want to try to allow ourselves to open, to allow ourselves to forgive for those things, for those wounds, for those emotional traumas, hurts, surprises, unwanted events. So we search our hearts and we let that resentment, we let the anger, we let the other harmful feelings dissolve, which is what forgiveness really is. Now, allow those tightenings to loosen and dissolve. Allow those shells that we've placed around parts of us to crumble, to dissolve, to wither, to open, to experience forgiveness. Which is different from condoning behavior. Which is different from saying, that's okay, you can go ahead and do that same thing again. That's very different. Now, we're not doing it for the other people. We're doing it for ourselves. We're doing it to open, to allow partnership to flourish even more. Forgiveness is also here to remind us to do what we can to release the negative energy that we are carrying, and we've gotten so used to carrying, perhaps we don't even notice it anymore. Do you know that? Do you know that you also have negative energy, negative feelings that you've gotten so used to that you don't notice that we want to let that go? And it's amazing how once we do let it go, how much lighter we are. And the lighter we are, of course, the better we're going to move with intention. Forgiveness of self is also important. I mentioned that briefly. Now, forgiveness of self. Are you able to forgive yourself for things that you have done or not done? I tend sometimes to think that if I beat myself up enough, I will make up for the thing I did or the thing I did not do. Something I've carried from when I was a child. That's a pattern of behavior I have. That I know, and I still fall into it from time to time. Do you experience any of that? Do you experience any beating up of self? Anything like causing emotional harm to yourself to compensate for perhaps things that you think you are lacking, or things that you feel that you are unworthy for, or to compensate for something that you have done, thought, or felt? We want to forgive ourselves for doing that. And then also forgive ourselves for those things that we think we haven't done correctly, or that we've done wrong, or that we haven't done at all. Forgiveness of self is also crucial in living the intentional life. Are you ready to forgive yourself? We want to forgive ourselves. We do. Not only so that we can open ourselves up to the power of intention, to the power of the law of attraction, but also we want to open up to the spider. Didn't see that coming, did you? We want to open ourselves up to the spider. Now, I'm sorry if you are arachnophobic. We're not talking about actual black widows and tarantulas and other kinds of spiders. But the spider in this deck is the creative animal, the animal of creation. It's here to remind us that we each have an artist within us. Now, the spider in the deck is the one who goes and creates of their own bodies a beautiful web. Now, it's an artistic as well as a functional creation. It's a beautiful thing. A spider's web is a beautiful thing. With dew on it, it's a stunning thing. But even without dew, even without it being hit at the right light and taken in a photo with a photograph, a web is a beautiful, amazing thing. Because the spider is an artist, is a born artist, and we are each born artists. And each of our arts is a little bit different. We don't have to all have the same talents. In fact, we don't want to have the same talents. Imagine if all of us were only painters, or all of us were only singers, or all of us were only orators. This would be an incredible, it would be a much less diverse world. And diversity is beautiful. Diversity is the essence of this co-creative universe. So, the spider, we are each artists, and we want to express our art in all of its diversity. Because, again, each one of us is not only one thing. You could be a singer and a painter. You could be a writer and a homemaker. Homemaking is an art. Cooking is an art. Writing journals. Do you journal? Writing a journal is an art. Playing music is an art. Humming to yourself in the shower is an art. We each express ourselves creatively in different ways. And not only one person, one expression. Each one of us has a diversity of possible ways of expressing ourselves artistically. Creating a beautiful living space is an art. Creating an interesting, intriguing, simple living space is also an art. The daily tasks that we do are also an art. Now, the work we do, when we go to an office or to a factory or to a site out in a city and we do our work. We go out into a forest and we do our work. We go out into a desert and we do our work, on a boat and we do our work. That is also an expression of our individual art. Those daily tasks are co-creations with the divine. Yeah, we are working with the divine in everything that we do in this universe. Be it painting a painting, or washing the dishes, or filing a tax form, or digging a ditch, or planting a tree, or cutting down a tree, or harvesting grain. Each of our acts is a co-creation with the divine and with each other. Our inner artist can find expression best when we are open. How can, when we are not able to forgive, when we are closed off, we also cut ourselves off from our own artistic expression, whatever that is. Sure, we can still go to our jobs and do our work, but imagine how much better we would do our work if we were happy and open and free. Imagine how much better we would dig our ditches if we were able to forgive everyone else around us and forgive ourselves. How much lighter the work would seem, how much more divinely infused it would seem. We want to ask ourselves, as much as possible, how can I create a better, more productive and loving experience for myself and others at every moment of the day? Or at least as often as we can think about it. How can I create a more productive and loving experience for myself and others? And imagine being able to ask that question when we haven't forgiven. The words would not come out of our mouths. I want to create a loving experience. We're blocked, right? So first we want to forgive, and then we can express our creativity, and then we can have these thoughts of how can I create a more beautiful, a more productive, and more loving environment, a loving experience for myself and others. Because, and this wraps right back around, because this is all a partnership. And the more loving and the more productive our creations, the more our partnerships thrive and expand and evolve. And then we've looped right back around to partnership again. And then there will be times when in our partnerships, something will knock us off or knock us to the side. We'll get surprised by something. Something will make us unhappy. Or no, again, we will create the experience of unhappiness in reaction to something that we're experiencing. And then we'll want to come back and say, okay, I forgive. I can forgive. I forgive for myself. I forgive for my own well-being. I forgive. And I open. And I allow myself to open. And then I can go on creating again. Does that make sense? Well, friends, we've got 4 questions around this central message. So let's hop to the first question. This first question is, what do I love about myself? Perfect first question, I believe. Because if we don't love ourselves, it's going to be much more difficult for us to forgive. Now, we need to be secure in ourselves, and we want to be able to forgive ourselves for things that we are dissatisfied with about ourselves. And so what do we love about ourselves? We want to remind ourselves of these things, because if we can remember why we love ourselves, how we love ourselves, we can forgive ourselves, and then we're able to forgive others much more easily. And the two answers to this question are very interesting. Yeah? And they follow, I think, the three oracle cards very nicely. The first one is the Sun. The next is the Knight of Pentacles. Yeah? Very, very different answers. The Sun, what do we see? We see something very similar to the Rider-Waite-Smith, Pamela Coleman Smith's art. We have a child on a horse with a sun in the background. This sun is right behind the child's head. The child is naked, and for some reason, a lot of people get disturbed by seeing a naked child on a horse. I don't get it. To me, it's a beautiful thing. It's a work of art. It's open, it's free, it's youthful, it's joyful, it's wonderful, magnificent, light, baby Apollo. I love seeing naked babies on horses because it's a joyful thing. And it's a co-creative thing, and it's an experience in the sun of light and love and joy. And that's what this card is. This card of light and love and joy. Now, the Sun. It's a card of positivity and fun. It's a card of warmth, like the warmth of the sun, the warmth of, not the warmth of like an August or late July sun in the desert in the northern hemisphere, but the warmth of late June, early June, maybe late May, the warmth of the sun on ground that is just starting to completely thaw from after winter, yeah, where you can take off your sweater and lie in the sun and just bask. That kind of warmth. Not the heat that we need to duck and hide from, but the warmth of, that's the Sun. It's also the card of success and vitality. Yeah? The Sun card is absolutely vital. It's filled with the energy of the Sun, just as we all are. Now, the energy we have in our bodies is all because of the Sun. We are stardust, vitalized by the Sun, also a star. Because that energy comes through the atmosphere, and it causes the plants to thrive, and then we eat the plants, and then we are thriving as well. So, and there's vitamin D, that energizes us as well, also from the Sun. So the Sun is vitality and success. And the Sun is also the divine child of God. Whatever you want to call that God. Divine child of Allah, divine child of Brahman, of Gaia, of the great mother of the eternal divine consciousness, whatever you want to call it. Of the triple goddess. Now we are the divine children. That's the Sun. And that's one of the things that we love about ourselves. When we are in love with ourselves, we love all of that. We love our vitality. We love our divinity, our expression of divinity, our relationship with the divine. We love the fun that we are and the fun that we have and the fun that we experience. We love our positivity and our potential. Our potential expressed. It's not just potential, it's a potential expressed. Vital potential. And we love our warmth. Our warmth. Not only the warmth that we feel coming from the Sun, but our warmth that radiates from within each of us. Love all of that. And right next to the Sun card, and you notice that the child and the horse are riding both in the same direction as the Knight of Pentacles. One of my favorite cards, a card that has been coming up for me in the last year a lot, as a reminder to just keep going. Yeah, just keep going. The Knight of Pentacles. Who is the Knight of Pentacles? They're both riding into the future. If you read left to right, from past to present to future, these cards are both leading into the future. I don't always read Rider-Waite-Smith that way, but that's one way to look at these cards. And so these horses, they're both on horses and they're both riding into the future, as we all are, riding into the future, into the eternal now, might be a better way to express it. Riding to now, to now, to now, to now. And this Knight of Pentacles is riding their horse into their next now, holding their pentacle in their hands. And this is the card of work, of productivity, of the daily tasks, doing the daily things, doing the work. And remembering that this is riding with the sun, right? This knight is riding from the sun as well. So we're not doing the work as in we are doing the work in this cloud of depression or this cloud of what is that word? Where the same thing over and over and over and over again. This cloud of repetitiveness, this cloud of monotony. That was the word I was looking for, monotony. This is the card of riding forward and taking the next step and taking the next step and taking the next step in joy, in enjoyment of doing the do's, doing the work, doing the tasks, which is absolutely possible. Have you ever been so happy when you were cleaning your house that you sang to the radio, you maybe even danced around a little bit, or you danced with somebody else and you're both cleaning your home or your workspace, and you're enjoying the cleaning, you're enjoying each other, you're enjoying the music? That's this card right now in this spread. Now, we love enjoying doing the do. Why do I keep saying doing the do's? I think that's going to be my new thing. Doing the do's, doing the tasks. It's also the card of being methodical, having a method, moving forward methodically, from one to the next, to the next, to the next. It's a card of rational work. Now, there are times when we take irrational leaps, not irrational like crazy, but things that could not be planned, things that could not be anticipated. We make an unanticipated leap forward. There are times like that. Yeah? Synchronicities line up and suddenly, boom, we're somewhere else. But this is the card of taking it step by step by step. I did this, now I'll do that. I did that, now I'm going to do this. I did this, now I'm going to do that. That rational progression. Yeah? I will wash the dishes. Now I've washed the dishes, now I'll dry the dishes. Now I've dried the dishes, now I'll put the dishes away. And I put the dishes away, now I'll go to the other room and I'll take my vacuum and I'll start vacuuming. And I'll dance as I'm doing it because I've got the radio on and I love this song. It's the card of stability as well. Yeah? The knight moves stability with stability. So not all of the knights move with stability. Yeah? Like the Knight of Swords, the Knight of Wands, but particularly the Knight of Swords, yeah, is a fast, quick, dashing, but quickly moving, quick kind of knight. Not entirely stable. Yeah? With so much speed, we lose a little bit of stability. And perhaps it's a little bit more precarious. The Knight of Pentacles, on the other hand, is stable. And so they're not that fast. But that's okay. They are moving forward. They're moving forward step by step by step, methodically, routinely, with routine, with conservation. Now there's a word, conservation. Not conservation conservation in the sense of a conservative, like a Republican, Democrat, liberal, conservative, not that kind of conservation, but conservation like environmental conservation, yeah? Conservation of place, conservation of resources, keeping things stable, not wasting stuff, not overusing stuff, not using stuff irrationally, but conserving what we have, using what we need, replenishing it, and conserving what we have as we move forward. That's also the Knight of Pentacles. And we can love that about ourselves. We can love our ability to do one thing at a time. And the more that we love those times of routine, the more open we know we are to the powerful flow of intention. And the more open we are to those other moments of bang, yeah, those leaps forward. Because we're open. And we can love that about ourselves without hating ourselves for those times when we're not experiencing this. Yeah, we're not putting them in contrast. We love ourselves when we're bright and shiny, so that means that we have to hate ourselves when we're dark and bored. That's not what we're saying here. Now, this is one aspect that it's easy to love about ourselves, and we can understand loving ourselves in this. And we might even be able to understand loving ourselves in our routines, in our daily doing the do's. And being able to forgive ourselves when we don't. So when we forgive ourselves, we can move back into, okay, so what do I love about myself? I love that I have all of this potential in me. So let me see if I can express some of that now. Let me see if I can open myself to myself right now. Let's move on to the second question, because I think this is going to be a nice progression. Let's take a look. So we've just checked in with our openness in the previous question. What do I love about myself? Yeah, that's a question of openness. So I've checked my openness, and the next question is, what's the adventure? We don't want to enter into what's the adventure from a place of protectiveness. Yeah, from a place of protectiveness, this question comes out like, so what's the adventure? And what do I have to prepare myself for? What do I have to protect myself from? But from a place of openness, that transforms into, what's the adventure? Where am I going? And the adventure could be seeing a butterfly on a flower. That could be an adventure. Doesn't mean entering a place like a Jumanji movie. It doesn't mean entering a Jurassic Park. It could be just noticing, again, a butterfly on a flower. That can be an adventure. So, what's the adventure? We've got two cards here, as usual, because I put them there. We have one is the King of Wands and one is the Page of Cups. You'll notice we've got quite a few, we have three. Okay, I'm sorry. We have three court cards in this spread. And here's another one. We've got three court cards. We've got one, two major arcana. But we also have all of the elements here. We've got fire, we've got water, we've got earth, we've got air. It's all here, right? Yes, we've got swords, we've got earth, pentacles, we've got cups, and we've got wands, fire. It's all here. It's a perfectly, beautifully balanced spread, I think. So, again, I'm sorry. Back to the spread. To what we were saying. Where's the adventure? The first answer to where's the adventure, here we have the King of Wands. You'll notice that one is the mature one is the youthful one, right? The King and the Page. Up at the two bookends of the court cards. The King. This is the passionate king, the fire king. And the adventure is the King of Wands being the natural born leader. I can lead myself. Do you realize that one aspect of our leadership is leading ourselves, mentoring ourselves? And then we can lead other people as well. It's grand visions. Yeah, the King of Swords to me is the one of clear vision, seeing the truth penetrating through clouds, seeing. The King of Wands is the grand vision, the creative vision, the broad vision. Not through, but of breadth. Long-term success, not just, oh, I won this game, I've done this, but long-term success, the long road, the long game. The King of Wands is also the master creator. Yeah? The Page of Wands, novice. The Knight of Wands, journeyman. The Queen of Wands, the proficient one. The King of Wands, the master creator. So masterful that they can instruct and lead others in their creation as well. Also, the noble one, the honest one. This is an honest, noble, honest in their nobility. Whereas maybe the King of Swords is noble in their honesty, the King of Wands is honest in their nobility. And that's part of the adventure. Being able to lead, being able to master your creativity. That's part of the adventure. It's like being secure in your ability to move through whatever. And then right next to the king, sitting on their throne, it's not a very mobile, active card, right? This king is sitting on a throne with a big old stick in their hands. They're not going to be able to move very quickly. They're not light of foot. They're not spry. They are strong and steady and majestic, right? Right next to it, we have the Page of Cups, who is not strong and steady and majestic, but is light and is nimble and is agile. This Page of Cups moves like water, is water. The Page of Cups, creative opportunities. Yeah? This is the one of the beginnings and the figurings out of and the explorings of things. Emotionally, intuitively exploring things. That kind of intuitive creation. The King of Wands is the fire of creation. The Page of Cups is the intuitive exploring of creative one. The poet, as opposed to like the master builder. The Page of Cups is also, again, the intuitive one, the one who gets these messages from the divine, from within as well. Now, always in Pamela Coleman Smith's art, there is a little fish poking its head up out of the cup held by the Page of Cups, right? It's that intuitive message from inside, from the depths of the cup, but also from the divine. This is a card of curiosity. Like I said, figuring it out, of possibilities, of dreams. Now, the Page of Cups is a dreamer. Sensitive and poetic dreamer. Now, perhaps not deeply feeling. And deeply feeling might be the Queen of Cups or the King of Cups, but the feeling one, the light, nimbly feeling one, the fresh, energetic, effervescent feeling one of the suits, of the court. So, these two in combination, that's what the adventure is. The adventure is living as the majestic, grand vision creator and the light, nimble, intuitively connected, message receiving, artistic, poetic one. And if we can combine those two aspects of ourselves, that is where the adventure is. The adventure is not going somewhere. The adventure is being who we are fully. Because as we are being who we are fully, everything is an adventure. Now the page is constantly discovering things. And then the master of the King of Wands is able to absorb it and create with it. Does that make sense? And we can only do that fully when we are open. And we can only open fully when we have done the forgiveness work for ourselves and others. Well, yes. Well, let's move on to the third question. So, the next question is, what am I in the middle of? Now, where am I right now? And this is a really good place to be at any time, I believe. Yeah, we have two cards, the Ace of Pentacles and the Star. And you notice that both of these cards are looking to the left. Yeah, they're reflecting. They're looking at what is and perhaps what has been. Perhaps just what has been. Which is interesting because the Star kind of shifts us in the other direction, but we'll notice that the Star is looking at the Ace of Pentacles. But let's begin with the Ace of Pentacles. What is the Star looking at? Ace of Pentacles is the card of new material opportunities. Yeah, the opportunities to do things, to create things, the opportunities of jobs and the opportunities of experiences and the opportunities of work and of doing. It's the card of manifestation. It's the first seed of manifestation, the first seed of abundance. It's got it all in there. It's all in there. It's all in there, but it's still a seed. And it needs to be planted and it needs to be nurtured, nourished for it to grow. But it's all in there in the seed, like an acorn. Like an oak tree is in an acorn. It's all in this Ace of Pentacles. It's all in there. And that's what we're in the middle of. Every moment of every day. Every moment of every day is an opportunity if we're open to it. And this Ace of Pentacles, you notice, what do we see? We see a person in what looks like young girl's garb, holding this pentacle and contemplating it, looking at it. What is it? What can I do with it? That's what I get from this card. What is it? What can I do with it? This is interesting. This is fascinating. They're wrapped. Their attention is wrapped in this pentacle because they know that there's so much potential there. And that's the way we can experience every moment of every day. Because every moment of every day is rife with potential. And then we got the Star card, looking at the Ace of Pentacles. And I think it's because this Star card is what backs us up in the moment of observing, reflecting on, penetrating those opportunities. Now, we want to be backed up by the Star card. The Star card is the card of hope. And we see in this card, it's a starry, starry night, starry, starry night, a starry, starry night. And we see this person in a flowing gown looks like maybe it's, there's a crevice, there's kind of a dip in the earth, maybe there's water there. And this person may even be dancing, moving lightly with these flowing gowns in the starry night sky. It's the card of hope, of faith, of optimism. We don't come into the Ace of Pentacles moment in pessimism, in worry, in concern, in lackfulness, a mindset of lackfulness. We come to the Ace of Pentacles in an expression of hope, in an expression of optimism, of faith that this is going to become something. It's also the card of purpose. It's the star is also the card of purpose. The card of renewal. It's the card after the tower, right? The tower, everything crumbled down, and now this person has risen up from the tower, has lightened their load. Yeah? All of the barriers have crumbled around them, and they've stood back up in the night sky. And hope, optimism has returned. That's renewal after the tower. And seeing their North Star, finding their direction, discovering or rediscovering where they're going. And with that, then encountering that pentacle is an amazing experience. Without that, we wouldn't even notice the pentacle lying there right at our feet. The star card is also the card of spirituality and the visionary, the inspired one. Yeah, the star, there's vision. There's vision and there's inspiration because they are a spiritually connected being. And it's that spiritually connected being that sees into this Ace of Pentacles, that sees the potential in the opportunity and where this is going. Because I know where I'm going and I can see how this is going to fulfill itself. So that's what we're in the middle of every moment that we're open to it. And hopefully, are you feeling open now? If you are feeling open now, if you're feeling open to the power of your intention, that's exactly where you are right now. That's what you are in the middle of. So friends, we got the fourth question. Let's take a look at that. This last question is important and will actually lead us to the next video. My Tarot de Marseille based video comes from this last question. But before we get to that question, let's do a quick recap of how we got to this last group of cards. Now, we started with the Oracle cards, which reminded us that there is nothing but connectedness. Yeah, everything is partnership. And being aware of that partnership is very beneficial for us in living the intentional life. And because everything is partnership, there are times when that partnership looks like it's going askew, looks like it's going astray. And we experience the feelings we create reactions of anger and frustration and hurt and pain in response to experiences that we don't like. And because of that, we carry those things around us, and we somehow think that those feelings of anger and frustration that we carry with us are somehow going to be either a badge of honor or are going to wound the thing that we think has wounded us. And so what we really want to do is we want to forgive. We forgive for ourselves. We forgive for our own opening. We forgive for our own lightness and our own well-being. And as we forgive, as we open, we are able to much more fully express our inner spider, our creative one, our inner artist. And as we are opening, we can ask ourselves, what do we love about ourselves? Because as we ask that question, we can pay more attention to those things that we love. And as we pay more attention to those things we love, they will expand. Where we place our attention, that thing expands. That thing evolves and grows. Where attention goes, energy flows. That's what I learned a long time ago. Where attention goes, energy flows. And as energy flows into that thing, that experience, whatever, it expands and it grows and becomes more. Like light on a plant. So if I direct my attention and my energy to the things I love about myself, those things will expand and grow. And what do I love about myself? I love myself as the naked baby on the horse. I love my joy. I love my positivity. I love my warmth. I love my vitality. I love the way that I can enjoy being alive in this body and also enjoy being spirit in this non-physicality that is creating the physical universe. And I can also love the moment by moment doing the do's, working the work, doing the daily tasks, methodically, with stability, routine. I can love that about myself as well. So the next question, what is the adventure? The adventure is also a kind of balance. My mature leader, passionate, grand vision one, and my light, ethereal, artistic, poetic, intuitively connected one. Now that balance of those two aspects of self, that's the adventure. Becoming self fully. You could call it individuation, you could call it self-actualization, you could call it enlightenment. That's the adventure. And then, what am I in the middle of right now? Well, if I'm open, I'm in the middle of hope. And in my hope, in my faith, in my optimism, I can discover my aces of pentacles everywhere. And see the opportunity. See how that can flourish and thrive and grow into this magnificent oak tree for me. And so, what is the healthy choice? And notice the cards for this, answering this question. Up until now, we've had these wonderful things. We've got the sun, we got the star, we got the court cards, the King of Wands, the Knight of Pentacles, the Page of Cups. We've had the Ace of Pentacles. And here we have the Two of Swords and the Five of Pentacles. Not very happy cards. So how is that a healthy choice? And I think really the answer to this question is in one card. It's in the Two of Swords. What do we see in the Two of Swords? We see a person in female garb, in womanly garb, holding two swords, and in front of them you see two paths there's a large tree right in front of her, and there are two paths that go out to either side of it. So clearly, this figure, in order to move forward, is going to have to choose one of those roads. It reminds me of the Robert Frost poem. Having to choose a path, and the path not taken. But in the Robert Frost poem, there's a kind of sadness or ennui about having perhaps missed something. Yeah? The path not taken. This card is asking us to choose something, make a choice. Now, often the Two of Swords card is a card of difficult choices. The card of weighing up options, sure, but a lot of people see this as a catch-22, as a stalemate, as an impasse, as avoidance. And I don't think that's the healthy choice. I don't think that's what this card is here trying to tell us in this spread. This spread is not here to tell us that, well, you can't choose anything. That's the healthy choice, is to realize there are no choices. It's all a catch-22. It's either a rock and a hard place. That's not what this card is trying to tell us. This card is here to tell us to make a choice. The healthy choice is to make a choice. Because it's not making a choice is a choice. Do you realize that? that not choosing is a choice. For example, if you see there, I could do this or I could do that, you actually have three choices. You could do this, you could do that, and you can choose to not choose. And this card here is telling us to just make a choice. That's the healthy thing to do. Now, maybe you're saying, well, what if? What if it's the wrong choice? What if I make a mistake? What if? All those what ifs. And then with all those what ifs, we notice that we close down. And as we close down, whichever choice we make is probably not going to be fulfilling for us. Because we're closed down. Not because the choice is wrong, but because we're not able to receive the good stuff that is possible from either choice that we make. As we shimmy. From either choice that we make. So the healthy choice is to make a choice. And remember that we are never wrong. We never get it wrong because we never get it done. There is no end point. There is no finish line to these lives. So we make a choice and we follow that choice and we see if we like it. And if we don't like it, we make another choice. It may not be the same other choice. That choice may have gone away. But we still make another choice. For example, we choose a job. We choose a job. And we go and we do the job. And we see if we like it. And if we like it, we keep doing the job. And if we don't like it, we have choices. So, I can choose to not do the job anymore. I could choose to look for a new job. Or I could choose to find something in the job that changes my opinion or my feeling about the job. Our negative reactions to what we're doing are also our choice. So again, there's something we don't like, we choose something else. And it could be another job. It could be a choice to change the way we perceive what we're doing. It could be to opening ourselves up to the good points of this job that we're doing, that for a moment we thought that we did not like, to open ourselves to the good parts of this job as we open ourselves to new possibilities coming into us, whatever those might be. But first, we need to make a choice. Because if we don't make a choice, if we don't open ourselves to the choice, we'll more than likely slip into the Five of Pentacles, which is right next to it. Now, I don't think that what we're seeing here is that on one side, one path leads to the Five of Pentacles, one path leads to something really cool. Because the Five of Pentacles is usually a very, very negative card. I think the Five of Pentacles in this spread is telling us that this is what happens if you don't make the choice. Because of the question, what is the healthy choice? The healthy choice is to choose. And not doing that is going to move us into this place of feeling loss, of poverty, of lack mentality, of being beaten up and wounded because not making a choice, we do that to ourselves. We beat ourselves up for not making a choice or having had a difficult time making a choice. We beat ourselves up about the making of choices a lot of the time. And that's part of that Five of Pentacles experience. It's a card of worry and isolation. Because when we aren't able to make a choice, we tend to isolate ourselves, intentionally or unintentionally. We isolate ourselves. But remember, we cannot fully isolate ourselves because this entire universe is a partnership. We just saw that at the beginning of this spread. But still, we can build up barriers between us and the rest of the world. And indecision is one of those barriers. It's the card of hardships and privation, lack. And all of those are experiences. That lack mentality is an experience of not deciding. Not moving forward. Not being able to go, to do, to act. But rather to suffer and to trudge and to carry the burden and weight of lack. And you think lack is light because there's nothing there, right? But lack is a heavy burden. Whereas abundance is light. Isn't that odd? Abundance, lots and lots of stuff, and experience and emotion. Abundance is light. And lack, what we think of as emptiness and darkness, is heavy. Yeah? It's a burden that we do to ourselves in reaction to situations which are perfectly understandable. I mean, there are times when we do feel a lack of stuff, of resources, and that's true. But our reaction to that can be very different if we allow ourselves to have a different reaction to it. There's the optimistic way of responding to the, okay, now is this, and I'm able to move through it, around it, sideways of it. Or there's the choice, and I'm able to forgive it. And then there's the choice of the beating myself up and beating other people up with negative emotion about my circumstances. And there's a difference between beating other people up for my experience of lack, of privation, of lack of, what do we call it? Well, what do we call it? It's always been called this, privilege. For my lack of privilege, for my lack of normalcy, for my not being equal with others. Yeah, there's a beating up reaction to that. And there's another reaction that's also possible. The one of forgiveness, the one of openness, that does not say that all of this injustice is okay, but I'm going to do the work of understanding myself and opening myself in forgiveness to be able to change the situation, to be able to open myself up to other possibilities, to allow my creativeness to flourish in the midst of this inequality. And as my creativity is able to flourish in the midst of this inequality, I'm so much more able to affect change than I am by picking up a stick and either beating up somebody else or beating myself up. I can affect change with my creativity, by being open, by being light, by being optimistic and feeling the warmth of the sun on myself and feeling the warmth of the sun from within myself. In my experience of inequality and lack, I can open myself and make a different choice, and I can find the creativity fire to affect change. not laying the burden of change on those who are suffering lack. No, that's not what I'm saying at all. That's not what I'm saying at all. Those of us with privilege can do the same thing. We forgive. We forgive those who seem to be, who we are afraid are attacking us for whatever privilege we have. And each of us has to come to terms with what privilege each one of us has. And instead of defending that privilege that we have, opening ourselves up to forgiving ourselves, forgiving others who we notice may be angry and suffering because they are feeling lack, and I have what they perceive that they want. I can be open to them and forgive myself for what I have, forgive them for reacting to that, and I can find a new creative spark within myself as well and affect change. This is true for all of us. In every physical expression that we have. From the most perceived privileged expression to the least perceived privileged expression. It's true for all of us. And we're all carrying stuff that we want to learn to forgive. To be the fullest expression of ourselves in this physical universe. To be able to take advantage of the powerful current of intention. To be the creative ones. To be ourselves fully. In this co-creative experience that is this physical universe. Does that make sense? I hope it makes sense. I hope this has meant something for you. And if it has, I know it sounds a little bit trite, but hit that like button because it does help the channel and it helps me a little bit. And it helps me to know that you're still here and that you've gotten something from this. Gives me a little patlet on the back. Also, subscribe to the channel if you haven't subscribed yet. Hit the alarm bell so you get notifications of when I upload videos. And share this with other people who you think might get benefit from it. You can share it on other platforms, send a link to a friend, copy a link for a friend, and comment below. I'd love to hear from you. What do you think? Does this resonate with you? Does it not resonate with you? Do you feel resistant to anything I've said? Let me know. Let's discuss. Let's share. And if you're interested in a private reading, I'll have a link to my Instagram down here. So you can hop over, send me a direct message, a DM, and we'll work out a way for you to get a private reading from me. About anything you might want to have a reading on. And also remember, in just a moment, there will be a short clip about these decks so you get information about those. And friends, now, as always, I wish you love, joy, well-being, and pure awareness. Thank you.